Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I am your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. With me this week is Laura Fisher, and we will be discussing training and operations and why that matters to your small business. You will be much more effective when they are in place. Before we jump into that, I want to let you know Floor Academy is here to help facilitate your growth from owning a job to owning an asset. And personally, I don't think a business is worth running if you're not trying to turn it into an asset. Why you would want to just own a job is beyond me. But that being said, there's 3 years of episodes that you can go and learn from. So make sure you learn while you earn. If the show has helped you, check out patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way to help me continue to produce the content. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm really looking to grow that platform. And what else? Go check out some of our fun files over on flooracademypod.com. Go click on the files section, get that business budget calculator to figure out kind of what you should be charging so you can look at what your salary should be, how you figure out your overhead. Impress your insurance agent, man. Contractors' tools get stolen a lot. And there's an equipment tracker over there. You can take some pictures of your tools, serial numbers, put them in the spreadsheet, how much you purchased it for, what it costs. And if your tools get jacked, I'm going to tell you what, your insurance guy's going to hate you when you send him a spreadsheet that details out very distinctly everything that was in that trailer and is gone. And they're going to have to cut you a really fat check. I've been through it. You think you remember everything. I was buying little tiny odds and ends like 3 months later, and you don't get a check after that check's cut. You're done. So keep track of your stuff. It's very, very important. Before we jump in and let Laura introduce herself, for over 65 years, Laticrete has been a leading manufacturer of products and systems covering tile and stone installation, masonry, veneer installation, resinous and decorative floor finishes, concrete construction chemicals, and concrete restoration. They offer an array of low VOC and sustainable products, and the products contribute to LEED certification, exceed commercial and residential VOC building requirements, and are backed by the most comprehensive warranties in the industry. For more information on Laticrete and the products they offer, visit laticrete.com. Laura, thank you so much for joining me. We struggled to get this scheduled. We're both very busy apparently, but we're here, and I'm very, very excited to have you on. So who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for the invite. I certainly do appreciate it. I think we met through my podcast, Small Business Insights, and we have something in common. We work with small business people all the time. So my name is Laura Fisher. My home base here is in Houston, Texas. My husband and I, we own several small businesses, and they range from let me tell you, my job is to run them all. I'm the management company. So I clean up the messes is really what it is. But you need that one. You need that person in your life wherever you do. And I'm it. So we have Western Aviation, which sells corporate jets. And Dave is also a certified aircraft appraiser. So that's like chasing big commission checks. So that doesn't pay your bills all the time. It may pay a bill every once in a while. So Kyle wanted to know how we got into storage is because we needed mailbox money. We needed commission. We needed regular income. And so we purchased a piece of land in Sugar Land, Texas, which is outside of Houston. And it was 9 acres, undeveloped land. It did have a very small mini storage on it. And we've developed it now to have over 800 units on it, and it's become a big business park. And on that, we also did some construction work and included co-working and office space. We have parking for service trucks. So we have flooring companies at our place, a lot of construction companies, because they need office space because they're growing, and they need storage and parking for a vehicle. And so that works out really nice. And then we're starting a new business where we're kind of combining co-working with co-warehousing in another location in Houston. And gosh, that's a good start. So we've been in business since 2000, and it's been fun and ups and downs. And to work with your husband, some of your listeners know that I quit once, but I'm back, so we're good.
Well, I quit almost every day. I just hire myself back in the morning.
Well, you don't have a choice. That's kind of what keeps you motivated. But so anyway, Kyle and I, we were talking about, people and keeping them, and that is the hardest thing to do, is have employees that you like and you want them to grow with you. And so what I like to do is kind of create a structure. So number one, I don't have to retrain all the time, and because you're doing the same thing over and over and over. So I like to put some kind of structure in place. So Kyle, what kind of questions did you have for me? I'm better at answering questions.
Yeah. So I think that within the construction industry, there's not a lot of structure. It's, I need a body now, and the 16-year-old kid down the street is available for the summer, so I'm going to grab them and throw them into my business. But
yeah,
or if it's a longer term hire, you're trying to hopefully grab an 18 to 22-year-old kid and train them up. But I've not seen a lot of companies that have the structure that you're going to get when you go to a larger corporation. And there's no laid out training manual. There's no documentation of how do I advance in this company? How do I move up? How do I become the foreman or the crew lead? And when am I going to get a raise? What skill set do I have to have? Right. Even within the union structure, you have all of that information. And the rebuttal to it that a lot of contractors will have is, well, no day's ever the same. And I get it. Within like the flooring, tile, and stone industry, we're going to go in and we're going to demo today, and we're going to start setting the next, like, then we got to prep the floor, then we got to set, like, you don't get to go and just do demo over and over and over and over again and learn that skill solidly like you could do in some more office jobs where you kind of get like this task, like just learn this one task and then we'll teach you the next thing, and you can kind of work on it like a set of building blocks, and they get stronger and higher as you go. So there's some kickback there, but I still think like even if it was laid out, you're going to be more successful because people have been communicated to clearly, and everyone's on the same page. You can't change the trajectory. Sorry, I can't talk anymore. It's been a long day. On them, right? So where do we even start within all of that, of just trying to come up with a framework to not only attract people, but then show them where they need to go?
Well, so what I do, and anybody can do this on their phone, they can write some notes, but I start to write down what I want. And if you have a job description, it's just your expectations of the job. And whenever you have an upset, if something's going wrong on the site, I just assume it's a training issue, because I obviously haven't told them what I wanted, what my expectations were, how to do the job. And so to me, that I always, take it on myself. Like, I messed up. I need to sometimes that's not true, but that's going to be my first go-to. So when I come up with expectations, even if it would be to have a contractor come and do something, before they come, I'm going to have an idea of what I want. But when it comes to a job description, first and foremost, it's hard to find somebody that's going to fit everything, right? Or everything that you need. But in my work, I need somebody who's customer service oriented, who can actually talk to a customer and be kind. Mm-hmm. And how do you put that in a job description? But that's something you can kind of get out of somebody when they're doing a job interview. But when I do a job description, or I set up my expectations, I kind of put down the basic things I'm looking for. All like every job that I hire, there are some basics. Like I tell them, you may do hard work and you may sweat. You may lift 30 to 100 pounds. You're going to be exposed to dust, weeds, grass, cleaning supplies, and sun. Okay, because, sometimes you hire somebody and a couple of days later, like, hey, this is more than I expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you find them taking a break because they're reacting to all the seasonal things. Like, well, I told you up front, this is part of the job. You're going to work outside. We live in Texas. It's hot. It's going to be a hot environment. Where this comes in play for me is we are also a U-Haul dealer at our storage place. So that's where all of this stuff is happening. We have a lot of outdoor things to do on the trucks. I let them know up front, and to be on time and dependable. Recently, I came up with a 30-day probation.
Okay.
Because I've hired people, I put in this work to hire somebody, and if they're not going to be on time, I need to let them know. It seems obvious, but nowadays you got to tell. It's harder to find good people. But so here's my 30-day probation. Your folks may be interested in it.
Okay.
So number 1, be on time. Includes coming back from a lunch break. Number 2, no time off requests during your 30-day probation. I figure if you're interviewing, you're going to know if you have a wedding, a reunion, something coming up. So nothing annoys me more than, a week into it, someone says, oh, can I have a day off here? And can I have a day off here? And that's annoying. Number 3, show up to work ready to work, dressed right, healthy, and eager. I don't know why I had to put all that in there, but that seems to be a requirement, that you need to be dressed, have the right shoes on. Mm-hmm. You need to look like you're awake. You need to be healthy, and you got to have a good attitude. Do the training as required in 30 days. Do your duties as required. Be accurate and complete in your work. I know these are very basic things, but with the folks that I'm hiring, they are ages 16 to 25.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm having to say these things. Now, the ones that are 30 and older, I don't.
There's one of my buddies has issues with employees, and it's frustrating because we think we shouldn't have to dumb things down, but he's come to the realization that you do need to dumb it down to the least common denominator in your company. But at least then there's a policy for everyone to follow. And so, it's annoying that you think a lot of things are common sense. If we got to dumb it down to that level, we dumb it down and there's no questions asked. But that's what's missing, I think, a lot of times, is that.
And, and I try not to think of it as dumbing down, but that's kind of what it is. But here's what the thing is. Here in Texas, we have the Texas Workforce Commission. So if I'm going to let go of somebody, they have a 3-strike rule. So I need to write them up 3 times. So I can write them up now on these simple things. Hey, you agreed you'd be on time. You weren't on time, so I'm going to write you up. And then it happens again. They don't do something like I trained them to do. Hey, you said you do the training, and I write them up. Here's why it matters. It's because when they come back or when they go to the Texas Workforce Commission and want to have unemployment, pay, they're going to come to me and say, hey, why'd you fire them? They said you were mean. Well, no, I wasn't mean. Here, let me give you all the documentation. And then that rep goes, oh, this candidate didn't tell me the truth. And therefore, when it happens, if I do it the correct way, my taxes, my unemployment thing does not go up. I keep it low because I have no claims, because I have followed the rules. And having this little structure helps me follow the rules, and gives me a plan and a communication that I can say, hey, you're not meeting my expectations. You want to keep working here? Yes. Okay. Let's have a plan. And we write them up and they go, okay, I understand. And that's one structure I do.
Well, and I like that you have the documentation on both sides, right? Not only were you able to present the employee with something up front saying, this is what I expect of you, but then you're taking the time to document it on the back end. And so there's a consistency to you being able to document what's happening, as you have a set list of rules and regulations to follow. So now we're both on the same page, so that the discipline actions are not questionable. Like, well, but you didn't punish Bobby about that. You're yelling at me about this. Like, no,
that's right.
Everyone gets punished the same way around here when we're negligent. And then you're documenting it. It goes in the file, which probably also isn't something contractors are doing a lot of, like, let me have an employee file. And then you can, like you said, if something happens with unemployment or whatnot, you can hand over that file and say, no. This is all documented over the past 9 months. Here's all this stuff that happened. Here's all the, write-ups. Here's them signing that they got written up, And then now you're not having to pay for claims, and you're not having your rates go up, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. It takes work. It takes discipline, though. And, but when you do have a system, it does take that emotion out of it. It's just what's so is, you broke the rule. What so is, I have to write you up. What so is, come back tomorrow. Let's have a better day. And I have here in my little system that says, option 1, if expectations were not met after the 30 days, number 1 option would be probation period will be extended with a plan in place until expectations are met. Because there may be somebody who's just green that just needs more training. Or option 2, so they know up front when they sign this, and this is the day that they come to work for me the first day. Option 2 would be, we would agree this is not a good fit and employment would be terminated. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love all of that. I want to go back a little bit. You were talking about writing up the job description and being able to post that. And it has the stuff that's, hey, you're going to have to do this, that, and the other thing. Do you hold off on the parts that sound crappy until the end? Are you pitching better aspects of the job and what it entails, and culture, environment, opportunities, and growth up front, and then it's but it also includes this stuff here? Or are you leading with this is what you expect?
I tell them up front, but just like human nature, we all listen and go, oh, it can't be that bad. And I say, oh, you need to do the trash and you need to make sure the toilets are clean. And, people go, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. But then when they actually have to do it, and they don't like doing it, it's like, but I told you that was part of the job, because I want them to know. And now what we do in the storage business, since it has a lot of transactions with U-Haul, we will even, and I got this idea when I interviewed Joe Schoen from my show. He's the CEO of U-Haul. They were having trouble hiring people. And so they came up with a hire fast, pay fast program. So the way it works is, so if a guy comes to my counter and says, hey, I'd like to have a job. Well, and we look at them, and they look like they would qualify. Would you like to start now or tomorrow? Yeah, I'd love to. Then you say, we're going to do a trial interview, and you pay them. So I'm going to pay them $10 an hour. They're going to work. And at the end of day 1, I will pay them cash. And we'll say, hey, how'd it go? Did you like it? And they'll say yes or no. Well, would you like to come back tomorrow for a second day? We'll pay you cash for that. Yes. And it's interesting. We've done that a couple times. The first day, they're really good. They're good employees. The second day, they're not so good. And it's been very good because you can say what the job is, but once you start doing it and expecting them to do it, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have weeded out quite a few candidates where I didn't waste my time putting them on the payroll, do all the paperwork. I just have a petty cash folder and I keep track of the person, and I have them sign something that says they're working for cash and they receive the money. And so I've weeded out quite a good number. But that's sometimes that's what it takes. Your field's all physical. People think they can do it, but once they start doing it, I'm sure it's hard work.
Well, it's the problem is the system you're pitching is really how a lot of construction companies run anyways. It's, you want to try it? Okay, come and I'll pay you cash. But it's because the employee misclassification runs rampant in the construction industry. There's many people that should be employees that get 1099 and they should not be. And so that whole like, here's cash or here's check at the end of the week, and then it's just kept track of by the contractor, and here's a 1099 at the end of the year, happens way too often. So
I can't do that. I can't do it because I tell them when to show up, and they don't bring tools. I provide everything.
Well, so do these guys. But that's what I'm saying. Employee misclassification it just runs rampant, and no one's doing a thing about it. But I like what you're saying of like, come have them out and try them. And if it doesn't work, like, hire fast, get rid of them fast. You're going to know somebody's attitude and potential based off of what you see in a couple of days, I think. And there's no reason to keep them around and drag it out. And I also think that's something I went through with the first guy that I had on. Was I waited 9 months to fire him. And I should have been done after 30 days, but I wanted it so bad for him. I wanted it to work.
Well, and you hang on to people because you don't have a replacement for them.
But I didn't need it. I could have just told clients, like, your project's going to take 3 days longer now. But I wanted it so bad for him that I kept him on. And I think that's where some people get hung up too. Like,
I've hung on to people longer than I should have.
It's a tough lesson. How do you how have you gotten over that to recognize that, like, if you can't meet this skill set that I need, I have to just move on? Like, how have you developed that out?
Well, I've out of experience, because I've noticed that even when I'm trying to push someone along, they're not going to get there. And so now I'm better at going, they just don't have it. They don't have the skills. It's kinder for me to just call it quits than to put us through agony for the next couple of months. So, yeah. But I'm charmingly tenacious. That's what they tell me around here. I can tell you bad news and you feel like, oh, thank you very much.
Okay. So there's a way to let people down. That's good, right? Don't just go firing them and yelling at them and here's a check and get out of here. But
yeah.
Okay. Where's the system developed, right? Okay, so they've made it past they've read your initial job description, they've come in, you've tried them out for a couple of days, now they get signed up for your 30-day probation period. They make it 30 days. Where do I get to go in your company from here once I make it past 30 days and we agree, like, hey, this is kind of a good fit, I'm enjoying it, you don't seem to have any problems with me and want me to stick around. Now where can we start going?
Well, I usually tell them when they're interviewing, I'm going to start you at a little lower rate. And once you've attained, like if you work downstairs and you're working on U-Haul, you have to take so many U-Haul courses because right now you're not as valuable to me. So I let people know, like, for the first 30 days, I'm going to determine after 30 days if you deserve a raise, because some people are going to come in and go, oh, I have everything you need. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't know my management systems. You don't know my software. You don't know you don't have to do anything. You think you do, but you really don't. And there's so many systems we have so many software products that we use We use their apps, phones. It's just incredible what we require folks to know. And so that kind of keeps them interested and motivated. And so you'll get a raise pretty quick. We're a small company. So my husband and I, we can do whatever we want. We don't have a corporation. We don't have anything some process. We're going to know if we like somebody and if we want to reward them. Now, after 60 days, they're eligible. If they're working full time, they can have healthcare benefits. And so we offer 2 programs, a PPO, which is more expensive, and the HMO. And that makes them sticky, so now they're like, oh, I like that,
Okay.
and that's kind of a sticky benefit that people like. And it matters, especially for those that have families. Or I have a single lady. That really matters, to have insurance. And we're growing, so there's always opportunity. There's always opportunity to grow. If you're smart, we're going to want to keep you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of matching are you doing on the health insurance? Like, are you just providing it and then they got to pay?
Oh, that's
or are
a
you
good question. So what I decided to do, and my rep said, I don't know how long you're going to be able to do this, but I said, I will pay the first $300 of your premium. So an employer has to pay a certain amount. I don't know. I think it's like 50%. For some folks, I'm paying more than 50% because our plan's based on age. So a young person's premium may be $400 a month, right? And I'm saying I'm going to pay the first $300, so they only have to pay $100, for the month. But if I have a 45-year-old lady, hers could be $600 or $500. So my $300 is good, but not as good for that 45-year-old. So there'll be a time when my math doesn't work out, that there's some requirements that an employer has to pay a certain amount. But right now, that's what I do. I say I'll pay the first $300.
I mean, I think that's really generous, especially if that's that's monthly. You just added $3,600 to someone's total compensation package, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money out of your pocket. So I think that's really generous of you to be able to do it. What did it take to be able to find that money in the company to be able to say okay, we have enough people that we should look into this, but that's a lot of overhead to come up with.
I'm not even sure we looked at the money as much as we wanted to keep employees. We got tired of having turnover.
Okay.
And when you've got somebody who is interested in working full time and they want benefits, it's a different caliber person. They seem to be more stable. They make better employees. And so that's what we wanted to be attractive to. And it has worked for us. I've got quite a few employees that have been with us 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And that's how long we've been doing the insurance.
Okay. And I'm assuming it gets positive feedback. You probably are meeting with your employees as part of these, having a proper operation system in place, right? You're getting reviews and you're getting thanks about hey, we really like this. Keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And we live in Houston. So we've got great medical doctors here. Even if you have a lower cost plan, we still have great doctors. Okay.
I had something that I wanted to go back on. I don't remember. Maybe it'll come back to me. You got them with benefits. You're chipping in on that. There's the ability to. What about ability to advance? How are you building that out? What does it look like for someone that's going to get hired to, pull the U-Haul around, go wash it, make sure that the systems all work right? How do I move up to being the counter guy or like an outside sales representative, or like what would my path for progression be? And do you have that clearly laid out that they can see that from day one, that if they're really aspirational, that, okay, there's a clear path for me to find?
Well, if you had my husband answer that, he would tell you everything. So let me try to remember what he would say. But so he would be like, yes, you get hired, you do great, you get to be assistant manager, then a manager. And so when he's thinking about his building and all the different expansion we have, then he's like, then I'm going to need an operations person. I'm going to need someone to go to all the different locations. So he's got a vision of where he wants the future of our staff to go.
Mm-hmm.
We're not quite there yet, but we just recently getting ready to open the second location. The two high performing people are going over to the other place to open it. And I think at first they're excited, and now they're like, oh my, there's a lot of new stuff to learn. But I know they have the aptitude to do it, and they're excited to do it as well.
Okay. You're not going to set them up to fail. It's your business. You want it to succeed. So you're giving them the opportunity to grow. But I think that's the key, is that a lot of times contractors will hold people back. They don't want to teach them what they need to know to grow because they're afraid they'll leave. And if they leave, they're going to go do it on their own. And then they're going to take my jobs. There's a lot of scarcity mindset within the construction industry. And you need that abundance mindset.
And I get that. I mean, I totally get that, because why not? I mean, but they would stay with the contractor if they gave them benefits other than pay. I mean, I'm sure they have camaraderie and you get a great product together. That's very satisfying, I'm sure. But if they could be a little bit creative, and, compensation doesn't always have to be pay. It could be time off. Mm-hmm. It could be allowances for things. Even if you can't afford to offer benefits, maybe you can afford to give them a benefits allowance so they can buy it or pay for something. Those types of things make loyalty to an employer.
I totally agree. Don't go looking into a 401k plan. I know that much, because you need a lot of employees and it's going to cost you a bunch. But I do have an episode a while back with a financial advisor guy, and we got into it. You can offer like simple IRAs for just the cost of the match. Like, that's all there's no cost to have the plan set up. And that's 3%, folks, is not a lot of money. When you're paying somebody $20, $25, $30 an hour, 3% isn't a lot. Make it 5%, be generous, do something that other companies aren't. And that's where you're going to gain that culture and the things that will set you apart, because you're the only contractor in town offering benefits. Yeah. So who wouldn't want to work for you at that point? Like, you've got to find the way to stand out that isn't going to cost you a lot. And trust me, you're not going to notice the difference in your bottom line, especially if they start being more productive because they're happier. You're going to make more. So I'm going to interrupt this real quick for just a second, and then we'll continue on. It's time to make your plans to travel to Las Vegas with me to hit the show floor at the International Surface event. Our sponsor, Tice, has provided me an incredible offer for you. You can now register for a free exhibits pass with the code Kyle. That's KYLE. Registration is open online at www.intlsurfaceevent.com/register. It's all happening in Vegas, the 31st of January through the 2nd of February, 2023. Please don't miss the special podcast this December, which will give you the inside scoop on what's happening at the show. Homeowner tenure is at an 8-year low, with average length of ownership being 6.31 years. During ongoing times of building material supply constraints, does a 25-year warranty really mean anything? Johns Manville Go Board offers a 10-year manufacturer warranty on all its products and a list of approved alternative products covered under their warranty. Don't hold up your job because you can't piece together a full system. visit www.jm.com/GoBoard for more information. Laura,
So are you going to the Vegas? Are you going to the Vegas show?
I am going to Vegas. I will hopefully be getting. I've talked. Nothing's officially confirmed yet, but I will be. I'll go even if I don't get a talk this year. But the past 2 years, three shows, I don't know. Past couple of shows, I've gotten speaking gigs. So hopefully, I will be able to do some more of that, and I'll get to go and hang out and have fun because it's one of the only times a year that I get to go see my buddies from all over.
Trade shows are fun to go to.
They are. I think they're
unless you're the exhibitor, they're not that much fun.
that I can agree with. It's a lot of work to be the exhibitor, and you don't get a break. But I did 5 talks in 3 days last show, and it was like I just felt like I was constantly back and forth, and I felt like an exhibitor. I was just on display all the time. So I don't know that I'll do that again. I know, right? It was very hard to be. It's hard to be Kyle. But no, I love being able to go, seeing all the products, seeing all my friends from all across the country. I think there's a lot to be said about being involved in your industry goes further than showing up to a project 5 days a week. There's more to it. Go learn about it. So surfaces, folks, it's a great time. It really is. And it's not all they're working on it. It's not all for just retailers. That's why I get speaking gigs and other people get speaking gigs now, is they really are trying to make it more for installers as well. And they're doing a good job at it. Come out, have a good time. Laura, where do we go? Where do we start? Now we got people, they're happy. They got benefits. They're on board for a couple of years. They're really enjoying us. We've got a cleared layout path of how they move ahead. What are the things that are making the day-to-day easier for you that really make a difference with employees?
We laugh a lot. We eat together. We send each other silly texts. We just have a good community. One thing I started that I think will be good for business as well is I told my staff that on Mondays, I'm going to make it Social Media Monday. And on Mondays, I want everybody to wear their best shirt because we're going to take pictures of us doing work together. And those pictures will be sent to, put on Twitter, Facebook, your Google My Business listing, all the different places, because those have got to see that people work together, it's a good place to go. I mean, even to get a product. I mean, if you have happy installers, then you're like, hey, I want that crew in my house. If you have pictures like that, it's just good. It's just good for business. So doing that kind of thing, making them aware that I care and we want to show how awesome they are when they work. I don't know, just stuff like that is fun. We have Christmas, we have holiday things. I don't know. We have a good time. We have all cultures here, so all colors and culture here. So that's tricky, but it's fun.
Do you do any like offsite team building stuff?
We want to. We just have not done it. We need to. We have one of those escape rooms right around the corner. I'd like to do that. Okay. Probably ought to do that around Christmas time. Yeah.
Okay. It's like you said, you do like Christmas.
Wait a minute. We do one thing. So downstairs in my storage business, if they reach a certain level of retail sales, the first level they reach it, they get lunch. We'll buy lunch for everybody. If they get the second level, we'll go off campus, off the property, and go out to dinner and do something fun. So they've done that twice. And one of the things they did was they went to a dinner and then went and saw the Top Gun movie together. Okay. And another time they went bowling. And so that way, because I do reward them, but that's one of the things that wasn't financial, but it was to say, hey, thank you for helping me hit a financial goal.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's just, so that's what we do. And that's fun. They have a good time doing that.
Any kickback from doing that stuff after hours? You know, that you look at social media these days, and everyone's like, the big thing is like quiet quitting, and I'm going to work my wage, and I'm only paid from 9 to 5, and I don't want to participate in things after hours. And I are you having
Well,
any of
hey,
that with your employees, or
no,
are they like
hey,
happy?
it's a gift. So if they don't want to take it, fine. You know, then the whatever. So like, I think someone wasn't able to go. So that meant they got to eat better. You know, they got to eat more food because we had more money.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't make it, hey, that's a gift. You know, if you don't want to participate, that's fine. But they usually do, because when they come back, you know, if anybody's missed it, they're like, man, I wish I'd gone. That sounded like fun.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I think that when I was offered opportunities like that for different companies I worked for, it always, they were going above and beyond for me. So I wanted to be able to like enjoy that. And I felt appreciated. I felt respected. Right. But I don't know, man, the stuff you see and the kids these days, they so crazy. I don't understand it. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's
There's some
going
good
on.
ones out there. There's some good ones.
Oh, there are. Don't. Yeah.
And I was going to give you a hiring tip.
Okay.
So my favorite young people to hire, actually anybody, if they come and they said they did this in high school, there's two groups of people on a high school campus I would hire in a heartbeat. And they're probably good for your crew as well. Number one, anybody who's worked and volunteered with FFA, Future Farmers of America, and they raised a livestock. I don't know if y'all have that there where you are, but they're all across the country. Here in Texas, they're in the high schools, and so like my daughter, she went and she raised a pig. Well, we have no skills on how to raise a pig, but the curriculum teaches them how to do that. But what happens is those students have to go out to the barns. They've got to clean everything every day, feed and be dependable. And so they know that their actions impact the growth of and success of their animal. It's a perfect employment training ground. So FFA students, they're hard workers and they're used to being hot and sweaty. The others would be anybody who's been in a marching band, a band in high school. Okay. Because again, you have to work at a collaborative unit. And when someone's not there, they feel it, you know, especially in your marching. And so they have to work very hard. If you've been and you've watched a marching band practice, you'll see that they practice more than the football team during football season. It just takes that much work. So band and FFA students make great employees.
That's a great insight. I just had a conversation with a friend, and she was pointing out that she loves hiring the athletes. If you can find a high school athlete that talks positively about their time on the team, they're generally going to be a good hire. They understand the teamwork aspect. They understand a dedication to having to learn and train and be able to advance. And so I think you're talking about the same things, right? Like I've been given a pig, like I have to raise it now. How do I do this and figure it out? And I got to keep it alive. Like it's going to take a lot of work. And then same thing with marching band is, especially in Texas with how serious football is, marching band is on that same level. Like there's some crazy shows at these high schools that get put on by the high school kids.
I live in that part of the country in Houston. There's Houston and Dallas are huge with football and their bands. So definitely.
Yeah, no, I can believe that. That's what I wanted to bring up before was the nuts, man, really? That's unbelievable. I had it. It's all gone. It's gone again. Maybe it comes back. So what kind of what operations are in place, right? So we're talking about training and operations. And so does are your employees pretty segregated? Like they know that they're with this company and they have these tasks, or do you have somebody that kind of operates among three of the businesses, or
Well, that's a
is
good
it?
question. Most of them are segregated. They know what they're going to work. Um, but I expect them to cross sell what the other companies do, so they know what's going on. Because when they're on the property here, we have the storage and then we have the office space upstairs. And so a lot of times if somebody's coming in to rent a U-Haul and they're consistently doing it, then that means they're not a mover, they're a business, because they're using a U-Haul to move something, to do a job, And so then we're like, hey, what are you doing? And they cross sell. They let them know that there's office space and storage space, and we can reserve their U-Haul for them ahead of time if they know they have a big, project coming up. And we try to help them save money. So, and that's just good. That's just good business.
Yeah. So there, you make sure that they're trained very well to cross promote the other brands and that they're looking out for them. Okay. You had anybody sell an airplane yet?
No.
No. All right. You got to push them airplanes.
No. My husband, he sells the corporate jets, and those aren't the little single engine ones. And I don't even know. That's just a whole nother economic, that's wealth. Who's wealthy anymore? I don't even meet wealthy people. I meet hardworking people who still want to just save money on Southwest Airlines. So that's me.
Hey, you never know who needs a storage unit, right? You got to get those guys. You could probably offer up like 20 or 25% of the commission check. I bet you somebody will find you an airplane to sell.
Yeah. Well, the reason why my husband did get into storage is because he was selling a jet to somebody and he was going to pay cash. And my husband said, what do you do for a living? He says, well, I own a couple storage units. And my husband's like, what? I had no idea that there was that much money in it. So we would have money, but we keep investing and growing and trying to make things bigger and better. But that's because we see the potential of helping the small business person. There's such a sweet spot because there's the big and then there's nothing. I mean, our little sweet spot that we have found is that business is growing out of their garage, that is ready to move and look legitimate. They're ready to have a professional address. It's just different. And that's a unserved market. And we do everything month to month because we know that's small business. We could make them sign an agreement, but really what good is it if they go out of business, right? Or they grow so much they need to move along. We don't want to hold them back. And so we just have a heart for small business customers and operators.
Well, so you have that co-working space and then you have the offices as well. So you kind of, if I'm not big enough to have an office full time yet, I can have a co-working space. And it sounds like you've really built something that you had the space and you built it out. And so now you can, just like you are bringing in employees and you're nurturing and growing them because you have this heart for small business, like you found a way to nurture and grow them. And so I know that's kind of where your podcast came from, is that you have all these people around that you can now talk with and interview. And so within this discussion of training and organization and development and all of that, how has that played a role in not only helping them, but what has it brought to your business to run it more effectively?
Well, I'm not sure, but I know that we're watched a lot by the businesses that do business here. And Dave and I, they see how we do things, and we have the opportunity probably every day to talk to some owner operator about how to do business. It could be, many times we have a guy in the back who does car wraps. He wraps the cars, and he was having trouble paying rent. And I was just talking to him, and I said, do you just put all your money in your own account? Or, I mean, are you separating, your business money from your personal money? And not because I was getting personal, it's just that we had a relationship. And I was like, how do you even know you're making money, Freddie? How do you know? And he didn't, and we talked about QuickBooks and cost of goods, and he's like, oh, because he was kind of under the impression he was making money, and he really wasn't. And so that was, so then instead of feeling defeated, he's like, man, I got a plan. I can do that. I can open up a QuickBooks. I can open up my own business account, and we just kind of lead them through it. And so just communicating and training, that always makes you a better employee or a better, communicator.
Well, I mean, what, you could have kicked him out, like, oh, you don't have rent money, all right, you got to go. But it's you did the same thing you would have done with an employee, right? Like you took him under your wing, you gave him some education to build him up and make him more successful, because if he's successful, your business can be successful.
Exactly.
And I think that's missed a lot. I do. I think that there's a lot of poor training that happens, and, oh, they don't get it, they're dumb, I need to just move on. Whereas, man, you might just really suck at training. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you could just be a horrible boss and not be able to communicate effectively with them, so that they can't do the job well. And I think that's something.
But I don't want you to think we were soft-hearted and didn't have the guy pay the rent, because we did. We said, hey, we know you're having trouble. Here's what we expect from you. And we outlined, and if you don't meet these, then you're going to have to leave. And it's just, again, going back down to having your expectations, write them down so you don't have to recreate them in your mind all the time. Use your notes on your phone. When you're thinking about expectations, use the tools that you have at hand so you don't have to recreate them in your head. So, because we have policies, and just follow them. It makes life a lot easier.
No, I think that's great advice. Once again, it's all about documentation and having that source to go back to, so you're consistent, because you may think of it, but look, I can't even remember the question for the interview. And I've been writing lots of great things down. I have lots of bites from you, but why would I write the question down? That makes sense.
Well, now there's a product that we use that Microsoft has. It's called OneNote. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it is usually in your Microsoft Office package. And what I decided was, because I tried to keep it a manual operations manual, and it was just too cumbersome, and I couldn't keep it up to date. So, but in notebooks, you can create, it's an app on your phone, and I can even take a video how to repair the security gate, and I can put it on there. And all my employees can see it. So they can even search, how do I do a refund? And I just have to do it once, and I post it on my OneNote. It's kind of like an intranet, and it's all there. And it really helps for training.
Okay.
The only problem I have is just reminding them, hey, it's in the OneNote. You could have looked it up. But because you have to have everything on your phone nowadays. And your phone is where you are. And if you're out in the field, that's where you need your information. So that's a great tool, is OneNote with your Office package.
No, I like that. Especially, you could make some videos about this is how you do this task or that task, and it's then available to them, right? They don't have to go search for some random YouTube video that may or may not be correct. They have your video, and this is the way this company does it.
And you can also link to all the YouTube videos that you like. You can create a page and just say, hey, watch this video, and you can, it's just pretty simple. So, the podcast came out from me just talking to all of our customers and saying, hey, they've got some pretty interesting stories. And so most of my episodes, I talk to owner operators and how they got started and kind of how's it going?
Hmm.
What are the challenges? How did when a lot of people when you're an entrepreneur, it's usually their second or third job. So there's always some kind of job they started out of college, and then they're making their finally made it on their own to step out on their own. So that's always a challenge I want to hear about. But some of my other episodes are for the owner operator to get information from, like how to get a small business loan,
Hmm.
or how to get your credit repaired. One episode I have coming up is why do small businesses fail, and that's really good. So I try to keep in mind I, I try to keep in mind the small guy and the owner operator, not the corporation.
Yeah.
But I did find, Kyle, it's so easy to get the people that work for corporations to be a guest, but they're really not in touch with what the owner operator needs. But they may have expert knowledge, but when it comes to, you're same with you, you're dealing with all owner operators. They are
For
boots
the
on the
most part.
ground. They're doing the work.
A lot of times, and you're right, there is a difference between that corporate world and that small business structure that's like 20 employees or less. And I'm dealing with people that, right, they have 20 employees, and yet something goes sideways. Two guys decide to quit out of nowhere, and this person that's been in the office for the last 6 months but started the company is now back to installing showers for a week or two.
Yeah.
And because we're so booked and we're so swamped, and then it's this thing gets ignored and that thing gets ignored, and I'm not able to have the time in the office, and so now the office falls apart because I'm in the field, and great, the field is working fine, but the office is falling apart. And then you can try and go fix the office, but the field falls apart. Like, I it's definitely an interesting world to be on that scale, where really one employee has such a huge impact. You look at a company, take one of the big tech companies, right? Like, if some low level programmer doesn't show up at Google for the day, it probably really doesn't put a dent in anything.
Right.
There's so many other people that little piece, that grain of sand, doesn't matter. But if it's, as well as I do, like me as an owner operator, when it's me and an apprentice, or it's you may have been at the counter of the U-Haul thing at one point, and there was one person to like drive them and wash them and service them and all that. That person doesn't show up. That part of the business is just atrocious for the day, because you can't
Yeah.
do two people. Like, you're going to make it through, but it's all a lot slower and more frustrating and harder to service and keep your focus on maintaining. And so it's being
That's
able
why
to, yeah.
that's why you want to start setting the expectations, right? Even in the interview process. So this is what the job is. This is how I'm going to take care of you. When I was in college, there's two things I remember from college, and it came from this one professor. He says, and I'll close with this. He said, what a person wants to know is what's in it for me, the job.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it's money or, lifestyle. They want to know what's in it for me. And the second thing is they want to know how I'm doing. People want feedback. You got to give them feedback. So what's in it for me and how I'm doing. If you meet those two basic things pretty consistently, I think your communication will improve, and you'll have an employee that says, okay, I like it here. Because losing an employee is devastating. So I try to do whatever I can to keep them, but I'm learning now to let go of the ones that aren't good. So I can find a better one, because it's who my company is. It reflects me, and it's got to be just right, because I am the brand. And Kyle, you're the brand when you're out there doing your work, and your employees have got to reflect that at all times.
I agree. Jim Collins, right person, right seat. You can either move them, or you can get, like, there may not be a spot on this bus for you anymore. I'm sorry. Like, you got to go. So I totally agree.
And sometimes you might have an employee that you in the wrong job, and maybe that takes coaching, or you need to ask, reassign them. But
Well,
know.
have you had that happen? Have you hired someone for, say, like, doing something with the office spaces, and then that didn't really work out, and you're like, you know what? Why don't you come over here, try the U-Haul thing, see how that goes, or however, in any number of
Yeah,
ways.
I'm in the process of it now. I got somebody I hired with the expectations lined out, but he's not quite meeting them. But I'm like, I see some good things in him, so I think maybe I've got him in the wrong position. So, yeah, I got to figure that out.
Okay.
But
You have
yeah,
more opportunities than like the smaller owner operator, right? You're an owner operator, but you have, it's like 8 or 9 brands that you have running
yeah,
concurrently here. So like you have some more
but there,
options. It's hard for a contractor with one guy. Like, look, man, you either got this spot or you don't. But I think that goes back to earlier. Like, we want it so bad for people sometimes.
yeah,
Like,
but
you got to just,
you might have a contractor. You might find, hey, he's pretty good with clients, and I'm good with numbers, and maybe he's going to sales.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe he's not that great of an installer, but he sure is good at the gift of gab, right?
Yeah.
He could be a great salesperson for you.
Correct. Could you go sell for me so I can keep installing? Do you know somebody that runs a retail shop that you could at least refer him over to? I think if you can find a way to, like, you don't have to just fire people. Who do you know? Like, what skill set does this person have to where you can maybe place them with a buddy in another business and help them out, right? Like, you got to look at their skill sets and try and set people up, because who's going to hate the guy that you're going to hate the guy that fired you, but if you go and you set somebody up to be successful in another area, aren't they going to come back or recommend your company? Or like, it's,
Yeah,
take care of yourself. Take care of them, but it all comes back to making sure that your company can be successful.
yeah.
So where can people find you, Laura? Where can they, if they're interested in finding some storage or a U-Haul in Houston, or they want to listen to you on your podcast, where can we
Well,
find you?
I would love you to hop over and listen to one of my episodes, and anywhere you listen to this podcast, I'm there. I'm sure it's Small Business Insights with Laura Fisher, and I have a new show every week. And then if you're living in the Houston Sugarland area, you can stop by. We're off of Highway 6 and Voss Road. You could probably look up everything. You can find all my umbrella companies under imperialbusinessparts.com, and check and see what we're up to. I'd love to see it. And so my tagline is, Kyle, I don't know if you heard my tagline for my show, is until next time, you better be up to something. And the reason why I say that is because entrepreneurs are always up to something.
They better be, or they're not growing.
Yeah, that's right. So I hope that y'all will come over and check out the show. I think it'll be a good compliment to what Kyle's offers you here on this show, because you're learning and maybe we got some different stories. So
For
I'd love
sure.
for y'all to come check it out. Thank you, Kyle, for the opportunity to be on your show.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I appreciate you coming on, spending time with us, sharing your insights with us on how things operate for you and how others can be more successful within their businesses. So, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. Once again, go check out Floor Academy Pod. Pick up a t-shirt. I got that awesome "profit is not a dirty word" thing going on now over there, that you can get a hoodie or a shirt. And I'm going to get one, and I'm going to wear it over to Surfaces. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And if you would personally like to help support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/Floor Academy. We'll catch you all next week.